call the December 8th, 2025 school committee meeting to order here tonight, 6:02. We will start tonight's meeting here with public comment. Seeing nobody in person, we will go to anybody. Oh, yep. Anybody virtually? Not seeing anyone remotely here tonight. We will move forward with our student report.
So I feel like a lot of us know this, but our football team just played at Gillette for the third year in a row, and they won the second championship, which was back to back. I think it was like their fourth in total this whole time. But the football team, cheerleading team, and band all traveled to Gillette early on Saturday and played Tewksbury. So that was an exciting win. I think it was a very close game.
Yeah, the November Sailors of the Month were Iroko and Bibola, Ryan Tinkham, Sasha O'Sullivan, Taryn Casagrande, Robert Garcia, Jana Downing, Dan Bowden, and Jeff Gross. Congratulations to Julia Newhall for receiving the National Merit Scholarship from the Eversource Energy Foundation. Two Scituate High School students, Rose Guzik and Charlotte Lynch, are using the GIS mapping skills they acquired throughout their summer work with CSCR, which is the Cohasset Center for Student Coastal Research. They're using it to map Scituate's walking trails. Their goal is to create a public resource which will profile trails for walkability, pet friendliness, terrain, and points of interest. To learn more or get involved, you can email Rose at her school email.
And the Civic Action Project has kicked off for the sophomores. So this month, our 10th grade social studies students officially launched the Civic Action Project, beginning their year-long work to identify and address real issues facing the Scituate community. More than 50 community members, including town officials, nonprofit leaders, environmental advocates, and other change makers, visited SHS to speak with students about the challenges they work on and the impact of civic engagement. Students came prepared with thoughtful questions, gaining meaningful insight into local government, community leadership, and advocacy in action. Along with this, Spanish 2 CP and Spanish 2 Honors are being offered as a dual enrollment course in partnership with Quincy College. This new opportunity allows students to earn both high school and college credit while continuing to build their Spanish language skills. The course not only supports language proficiency, but also helps students get a head start on their college transcript.
We've mentioned this a few times before, but SHS held its second MTSS meeting on Wednesday, which was the 19th, November 19th. It has a clear vision and a focus on school achievement. And although supporting struggling students remains a main focus on the MTSS initiative, the administration team at SHS is looking at students they want to challenge and raise the bar academically.
As for guidance news, the school counseling department will host a post-secondary planning event for caregivers of college-bound juniors on Thursday, December 14th at 6 p.m. in the high school library media center. The purpose of this presentation is to provide parents and caregivers an overview of the post-secondary process, including SCORE, SATs, and ACTs, and will preview the steps students and families should consider as they plan for postgraduate options. And we hope to see you there.
And then we wanted to add some points on the student perspective too. I just wanted to touch on the swim season that started up. It's really exciting. Everyone there is hoping for a great season. But I just want to mention that practices are pretty early. They're from 6 in the morning to 7, which gives kids plenty of time to go home and shower, get ready for school. But I've talked to a lot of my friends. They've mentioned how it is pretty stressful, pretty tiring getting up that early in the morning. I know it was a tough situation with the pool, but I just wanted to point that out.
And you're getting up at?
Yeah, 5 o'clock. Yeah, and then driving. It's 45 minutes.
All the way over.
Yeah, so it's a tough spot for these students.
Yeah, it's tough coming to the early classes, especially with a lot of the upperclassmen taking tough APs in the morning. I know focus is hard when you're super tired from practicing, and I feel like the pool especially takes a lot out of you. But in addition to that, we know that seniors are going through the college process right now, and a lot of decisions have been rolling through with early decision, and I think early action is going to start to come out with mid-December into January. but I feel like we've gotten over the major hump of the super stressful season, which is exciting with everyone submitting all the college applications. There's a lot of November 1st and November 15th deadlines that people are super glad that those are over now and like passed and everything's submitted. So it's been exciting. We've had a lot of recent commits. I think I want to say like 10 people have committed so far. Like
10 or 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's exciting seeing where everyone's going, which is fun from the senior perspective.
Yeah, I think that's everything. I don't know if you guys had questions.
You can follow along, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it an
We're
Instagram
kinda
page?
nervous.
Yeah, follow
Yeah.
Instagram. I always love checking it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love following.
What's that? Do you know what it is?
I think it's SHS 26 decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
We have
Instagram.
some like periods
On
or
Instagram.
underscores there.
Yeah.
but
It's great. It's exciting to
Yeah,
see
it
where
is.
everyone is
it's
heading.
fun now that it's our year, especially. It's been fun following in the past, but I feel like this year's
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of fun.
And Anna, we want to say welcome to
Oh, thank you.
student rep life here
Yes.
on school committee.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We're really
Thank you.
happy to have you. I'm sure Luke is happy to have someone else too.
I
You
know,
don't
I've
have
kind
to
of
Oh,
be
sorry.
on the ship here. So we appreciate having your perspective and your input here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What else want to?
Can I just
Yeah,
offer?
of course.
So I was reading all this list too. Like I think we can speak for the school committee when we say we love hearing all these updates. One, and so it's a yes and. I was wondering, without too much burden, I think it would be awesome to remember that we also have 4 elementary schools and a middle school. And so if you're able, and we can help you think about like how can we find what's going on at those schools to also celebrate. For example, because I have twin 5th graders, there were winter concerts last week that were fantastic. There were two young ladies that accompanied Mr. Mont on the piano because they've been playing piano since kindergarten. So there's some cool stories there.
Yeah.
Mr. Mont is retiring in December. He's been with Scituate for 17 years. So I think they're little nuggets. Yeah. So I think, and some of the elementary schools have student government now. And so I think even, talking to a few of them, and I know there's so much going on at the middle school always. So even just a few nuggets, I think would be fun. And again, we can help you figure out sort of how to do that if that's possible.
Yeah, this is like kind of random, but like has to do with the middle school. I think like super exciting, but I don't know how long this is going on. I've been tutoring like a 6th grader and a 7th grader, and they have like for team A, they have a Google Classroom that tells them all their homework assignments. And I don't know if that's been going on for years now, and I've just been like totally blindsided, but I thought that was super helpful because it's like, even if students aren't super motivated, because I feel like 6th grade and like middle school is when you kind of start to get the hang of that. But for parents to be able to check and everything, I thought that was like super cool and very helpful to have, especially for me as like a tutor when students don't really want 100% do anything when you're there. So it's nice to kind of like get the boat going.
Yeah.
Nice, but something for the middle school.
Yeah, I love that, Carrie, to put a bug in your ear on how to connect with those younger grades, and so we can sort of spread some of that really good stuff that's going on.
Definitely.
Thank you. Okay, we have some action items on our agenda tonight. We have a second reading of our policy IKG, competency and determination policy, which is otherwise noted in Appendix A. Any questions or feedback since our first reading anyone on the committee has?
I do actually.
Yes.
Yep. So if anyone's been paying attention to any of our online AI news sources that are local, they've all been reporting on this as though it's like this groundbreaking news that all these school committees are doing this amazing work, but actually it's just everyone becoming in compliance with DESE, and so are we. That's what this is about. But it's been interesting to read the ways that everyone else is approaching this, and I think we are largely in line. But as I was reading our policy compared to some of the other district policies, I realized that ours currently says to meet competency determination requirements, students must demonstrate mastery of skills in English language arts, mathematics, and science by satisfactorily completing the relevant coursework aligned to state standards for each content area. This mastery is attained by successfully completing the coursework below with a passing grade during grades 9 through 12, and it lists it. I actually wasn't 100% sure what a passing grade meant. And I think, and that's a point I've heard other committees really deliberating on. And so I think for us to define that in this document would be helpful. I imagine it's the type of thing Desi probably wants anyway in here. I know we have it in other places, like in our handbook and things. And people who are in high school are certainly going to know that off the top of their heads, but for people who are not currently in high school and might be looking at this policy, I think it would be nice to have that defined right in there. So I believe the answer is 60. And I think we should put it in there. That's what a lot of other districts do. So that's an addition that I would recommend us.
Yeah, just clarity. Yeah, that makes sense. So that you don't read through it and then have a new question immediately.
Exactly.
You thinking it should link to where that information should be found?
It can link, and I think it should just
And
say
be stated
passing
clearly.
grade parentheses 60 or above.
60 or above, yeah.
At
I don't know.
least 60.
60 or above, yeah.
How do you word that? Well, at least 60 would be 60.
Either
Either way,
Either way,
they're
it means the same
they
thing.
mean the same
Okay.
thing.
60 or
Yeah.
Just checking.
Did you want to add anything to that?
I was just gonna add that the number comes from the minimum numerical score that a student would need to earn credit for a course. Of course, we would aspire that all of us, that students would do better than that numerical score. But if you earn that score, you receive credit for the course and would pass it. So that's where the number comes from, according to our program of studies.
So do we have to define it as 60 or would we put it more?
60 is consistent with the program of studies, just like Sven said.
I just think it would be helpful to have it right there. And again, this is something a lot of other school committees have been talking about. Some have been advocating to have it be a little higher than that. But I think for many, that's the bar that is being set. It's a 60.
Can I just ask a question? The graduation requirement says they have to successful completion of coursework. Is the competency determination separate from the graduation requirement?
It is, yes. There are two
Okay.
components.
Okay.
Do you want to explain a little more?
Yeah, can you just help us understand that a little bit?
Sure. To graduate from high school in the state of Commonwealth of Massachusetts, students have to achieve the competency determination. They also have to meet their local graduation requirements. Previous to question 2 in 2024, the MCAS at the end of sophomore year in ELA and math, or at the end of freshman year in science, stood for the competency determination. So students had to pass each of those MCAS exams and then complete those graduation requirements, and in turn, they would earn a Scituate High School diploma. So with the passage of question 2, it removed the MCAS as the competency determination requirement. So then all districts were basically compelled to come up with the competency determination criteria. We made some and passed them last year, and then DESE and the state clarified what all districts should do to have a slightly more uniform competency determination requirements. And so this is the process and policy that we've done. So in order to graduate, students have to meet the competency determination, which is passing the courses listed here. Then they have to complete the Scituate High School graduation requirements with 16 credits in ELA, in math, down the list, and then they'll earn their diploma.
There is also currently a statewide graduation council that is creating some new state level guidance, and kind of by chance I got invited to go and speak and give a parent perspective on the intro stage of their policy last Monday, so I ended up getting to hang out with Maura Healy and well, it was very cool, but it came out very out of nowhere. But this is the report. It's called Reimagining High School, and it has all of their recommendations thus far. So it's actually really interesting to take a look at what's in here from anyone's perspective, students, parents, educators. They're definitely looking for input on what they're thinking. It's a little bit complicated, I will say. They want to have, portfolio, and they want to have end of course exams. They want to have kids filling out the FAFSA for financial aid as a requirement. They want to have kids doing civics and financial literacy courses. They want to expand, they have a seal of biliteracy, perhaps expand other skills of distinction. So there's all these different components that they're looking at right now. So I think what Massachusetts did was, instead of just saying, okay, we're going to just go with everyone gets a 60 and that's fine, they're using it as an opportunity to really rethink high school and what it means to be competent. And so I'm happy to pass this around, but also it's obviously online. Would definitely encourage everyone to look at it. They're definitely interested in input. They've got students and educators and family members on the committee, but they're definitely seeking more. So it's really interesting. And this is like years out, so we don't need to worry about it. But we do need to worry about it because it's coming and it's important and it will eventually happen. So as a side.
Is that how they presented it in this?
It is. This is the report.
That's cute.
It is. Yeah. Pass it on. Pass it down.
Yeah.
It is little.
We should do that for a town meeting.
Scituate report. Yeah. So
It's great.
Okay, so
but in
with-
the meantime,
yeah,
our little policy
No,
still.
thank you for, I think in my mind, I thought, but when I see it in paper on writing, it's like, looks different.
Yeah.
But it is two separate.
It's complicated, yes.
Because someday we could add financial, whatever, you have 4 credits of financial.
Yeah.
Well, that's
someday
the-
we might have to.
Well, we could,
Right.
but there's
Yeah,
also
it's
additional credit, so they could take
Yeah.
it as part of their additional credit.
Yeah.
And there are other districts in the state that currently have a capstone project as a requirement. I mean, there's all different ways that people do this right now. But
So are we voting tonight?
we do need to vote on this
Yeah,
policy,
yeah.
yes.
with the
With the
amended
change to
language.
the-
Yes, with, yeah, we can.
Make a motion.
Okay,
Yes.
I make a motion that the school committee vote to approve the policy IKG, competency and determination policy as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, we have our Model UN field trip.
So thank you for having us back here. Again, we're here today to talk about another sort of exciting step forward for Model United Nations. As you know, when we've come in the past, we've discussed the number of kids that have tried out and not been able to go on the trip, like our last trip where we had about 75 students come out, we were only able to take 40 of them. We've been looking for opportunities to be able to expand and allow many more students to take advantage of these academic opportunities. But again, not to overburden, a particular conference. So we've been looking for opportunities to do that. And in talking with Mr. LaRanger, he agreed that this was something that would be really beneficial, not only for Model UN, but for Scituate High School as a whole. When you have students that are excited about doing academic work outside of the school day and writing and debating and talking about international issues, that can only lead to good things. So one of the objectives today that I, in addition to proposing a trip, is just to sort of explain a little bit of the vision of what this would look like, in addition to, the first trip that we might be wanting to take. So the thought for us is that we wanted to provide an opportunity, like I said, for students that maybe did not make the cut or maybe also chose not to try out because they were intimidated sort of as a freshman or a sophomore. We have students that sort of self-select and, withdraw themselves because they don't want to try the tryout process for the travel teams. So what we were hoping to do was to open this up as sort of like first come, first serve for students. There'd be no tryout process, that students would select to go on probably one overnight trip a year and possibly some one-day conferences. There are some that happen in the fall and a few more that happen in the spring, but we would kind of take those as things arose in different places. We also really wanted to use this as a building opportunity in leadership skills for some of our students, not just our officers, but really targeting more the juniors or maybe some seniors who aren't in the leadership of the club, to provide guidance and support and training to the newer delegates coming in, to sort of build an entire program, kind of like a sports team, that you have sort of a feeder program to sort of lead up to a more robust Model UN travel team. So again, this team would be primarily local. And our hope is that we would like to take, on this particular trip in February, is through Boston University. We would be looking to take about 40 to 45 new delegates on this trip. And I've sort of envisioned that we would also then take 5 experienced delegates who have sort of committed their time ahead of time to help prepare students. My thought is to maybe look at, like 1 student per 10 younger or less experienced students, which is basically would be the same breakdown as we have like on a chaperone. So you'd have sort of a chaperone group with a student sort of, I thought of it as being sort of like a counselor in training. And for sort of in exchange for their extra work, they would also participate in this conference, but then for in exchange for their additional work that they're doing, they would pay less for the trip. So if you look at for this particular conference, we are looking at sort of like novice new delegates coming in and paying $350, which is about what it would have been otherwise. And then our experienced delegates, we're only asking them to pay $175. So this way it would maybe incentivize them. They'd have to, they'd have to commit themselves to coming to the meetings, to prep students, and also prepare them like in the conference itself. So this conference is from February 6th to February 8th. It is an overnight conference. It is one that we've gone to before, and they really put a focus in this particular conference on newer delegates, but they also have some really awesome, interesting committees for the students to be involved in. And this particular conference, they'd be gone only 1 block of school, so they'd leave during wind block on a Friday. So they would miss last block on the Friday and then be gone Saturday, Sunday, so then they would return, to school on Monday. So they'd be missing really minimal amount of time. And even those students, I know there was some concern at one point about, our experienced delegates being out again and again and again. But in this case, it would still only be 1 block for a couple of them that might be accompanying the group. I brought with me Mr. Kermans as well, who has volunteered to sort of take the lead on the local conference and the local Model UN team. Our hope is that after a year or 2 or 3 as sort of like the interim club sort of activity, that we could build it in as a stipend to reflect the amount of work it does take to take all of those students away. So I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, that pretty much covers it.
But I'm happy to answer any questions.
You mentioned that it was first come, first serve, no tryout, which makes sense. Will you have still like an application or something so that you have a sense of the kind of student you're attracting?
We haven't thought it through in terms of like what we would ask. I've thought about that from the experienced mentor side, in terms of having them fill out an application about why and leadership experience and all that. I'm trying not to put that many hoops in front of students, but maybe thinking about why are they interested, what interests them about going on it, like some small little hoop that isn't as daunting maybe as a tryout.
I was just thinking if you're building a bench, it might be good to have a couple of screening questions or something.
Sure, absolutely.
No, this is great. A couple questions. Is this idea would it be unique to Scituate, or do you think that other schools also have this kind of intro UN program?
I don't know many schools that have this many students going on Model UN to begin with, so I think we're pretty unique in general.
Yeah.
Whenever we go to conferences, we have well more delegates than most other people, especially given our size. So I don't know of any other schools. I know a lot of schools that are trying to start a Model UN program, but given our, the numbers and the success that we've had, I think we'd be kind of setting the setting the bar high for other people to maybe follow our lead. But I think it would be exciting for us to sort of do
Great.
that.
And this is just, I think you might be solving for this issue, but with a lot of these conferences, I would assume that student athletes may be excluded from going because they have a competition or something over the days that we're out. It looks like this could be solving that for someone that maybe couldn't go in the fall, but they could attend this winter one. Are we kind of looking at that as well? If you potentially implement more similar, like intro UNs, like that you can do each season. So if someone's an athlete in 2 seasons, they can go to the third one.
You know, I think that could be something we could think of down the line. I think right now, especially given the fact that Mr. Kerman will be doing this for about $500, I don't really want him to have to put on too many conferences. I would imagine that maybe as a stipend was included in the contract, that we would increase the number of possibilities for students. But I think it's a lot of work to put it together. So I think we're going to dip our toe in now and then see where it goes from there. But I would love to be able to build it as a full program that would offer multiple conferences.
Yeah, I think just sort of adding to that, because I think this is, again, it's a small, not terribly hard step to get a number of kids who are very, very interested, but are a little bit daunted, but use that as a stepping stone to really start building this thing, building it up. And then successful here would lead to successful later, which would lead to bigger.
So that sounds great.
I just wanted to comment. Yeah.
I was gonna say that Luke knows something
Oh
about
yeah,
this.
yeah. I just wanted to say, like, I've talked to a lot of underclassmen on the last trip who maybe weren't able to go just because there were so many people. And I know I definitely felt this way as a freshman, but like you said, like really daunted, especially because we have so many kids. And so I think that having this other opportunity is just a great, Mr. Kerwin, like you said, like stepping stone. It's almost like a baby step to sort of getting to the real thing. And then for the leadership, I also know a lot of juniors and sophomores who are interested in the leadership. And so I think that this is a great way for them to almost like prove themselves and sort of, you know, put that on their model UN resume and, you know, gain experience so they can become better leaders as they run senior year. So I think this is really valuable.
It's exciting. It's something that has been rolling around my head for years. So I'm excited to sort of finally pitch this and hopefully we're able to get it going.
It's really cool. It's such a great program that it just speaks to all the hard work and effort that you've all been doing, that you have so many students that want to be a part of this. It is so much work on everyone. The kids work so hard. Students are dedicating so much time to this. Teachers are. I mean, it's a big deal. And the fact that your program is massive, it speaks to just like how awesome it is. I mean, it's a great thing.
And this particular conference is really awesome too, because it is a legitimate conference. It's not like they're just going to a one-day conference where it's just sort of like some high school students from like locally, like people come from all over the country to this conference. It is a pretty competitive conference still. So they're still getting the benefit of the level of debate discussion, but just with some supports that are there, which I think would really benefit them kind of going forward.
Which is great.
Just two things to kind of just real quick. One, have you thought about taking the train? Is that an option? And would it be any cheaper than the bus? It may not be. Nothing against the buses, and I know we have great drivers and good buses, but could be some cost savings. And second, if you're going to take the buses, the possibility of sharing with another school. Some years ago, when we were a small little DECA club at Durfee just getting started, we paired with a larger school with like your UN club, a huge DECA club, and that helped bring the cost down, you know, certainly for us by just piggybacking on their bus. And it helped them because we gave them a little bit of money towards the cost of the bus.
The challenge in that is just honestly the times of the train as well.
I know, because the commuter rail is great, but
and we would need to still have transportation to the commuter rail, and then sometimes traveling with 45 kids on a train, we've done that in Europe, gets really challenging. and again, sort of like not the on and off, it's not the same thing, but it would still be on and off the T at a time where people are commuting.
But you will it'll take you close enough to Marriott. You don't have to worry about transportation. That's easy. I just thought I'd throw it out there. I wasn't sure if you had thought about it.
Yeah,
I'm big on rapid transit. I looked into doing it for myself. It's gonna take 3 hours. That wasn't an option.
yeah, and I think sometimes the Sunday when we come home, it's a challenging time to take the train
Yeah.
as well. In terms of sharing a bus, we tend to take up the entire bus because there's only about 50 seats on the bus plus our
Right.
luggage. So it really wouldn't be an option.
But yeah, I was just
For
wondering
that.
if you were gonna have to spill into a second bus, in
Gotcha.
which case you would definitely wanna find
Yeah.
someone to
We've done
share
some of
with
that
you.
in the past though with like the French, going to Quebec with Cohasset.
Cohasset.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So during certain opportunities have arisen to be able to share, but yeah.
Yeah, just ideas that
Numbers.
might help, or
Yeah.
if they don't help, then just ignore them.
Thank you.
When does the conference officially start? Like
It's-
Friday night?
It starts on the Friday night, which is, like typically when we've gone to Boston conferences, we've gone on the Thursday and done some touring, but I know the concern was being out of school. And so we sort of shrunk this. There's not a whole lot of activity for the kids to do in Boston. It's primarily just the conference itself, but they would get it in time to check in, and then the opening ceremonies is usually around 6. So it would be enough time for them to get in and get settled, but it's not quite the same sort of sightseeing type. But again, you're going to Boston, it's local.
Yeah.
I was just curious because it said it's a 3-day conference, but like Friday's like a meet and greet type.
Friday is, so they'll have opening ceremonies where there's speakers and sort of the like ceremonial stuff to sort of get started. And then they usually, I believe that night, have a night session that's usually at least a few hours long. And then they'll have multiple sessions. Luke, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but like 2 or 3, 4, depending on how they break up on Saturday. And then Sunday, there's usually one session and then closing ceremonies.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. They'll have, like I know in Canada, they had it for like an hour and a half after opening ceremonies. And then the day after, you're usually really booked with committee with like breaks in between. And then Sunday is like your last session. You sort of wrap up your resolutions and then go for closing ceremonies. So yeah, you have committee all 3 days.
Right. Fantastic. Take a vote on Model UN to Boston.
I make a motion that the school committee vote to accept the in-state field trip, local Model UN, Boston Marriott Copley, February 6th, 2026 to February 8th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you again for all your support. Appreciate it.
All right. Director of Special Education job description. Table.
Surprising.
Like,
I think you guys can hear me.
yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, so I'm here today to answer any questions you all might have regarding our Director of Special Education job description. As you know, you all need to approve anytime we suggest revisions to it. Michelle Berbert, our current Special Education Director, has indicated that she's going to retire in May, at the end of May. And so anytime we have someone that's been in a position for a long period of time, this is her 6th school year, I work with them to look at the job description they were hired into and ask them to update accordingly. So in the document that you have, what is it, appendix?
C.
Appendix C. Yeah. Everything in blue is the verbiage that Michelle has added to the job description just accurately and just fill in some gaps here and there to the job that she's been doing the past 5.5 years.
I know.
The ask would be that you guys would vote on it, and then I would look to posting it next week, and then our goal is to start the hiring process in February. We'll be running the other SEA job description, that posting and that process in January. Yeah, it'll be fun.
The only thing I saw, I mean, I assume like you just outlined, like, yeah, she knows what she does for the last 6 years better than anyone. Was just in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. it should be prepares contracts for individual, just so it's all the same tense there, just like a tiny little. And then the next one coordinates, just so they're all the same tense, but I don't know, going through it all, it's, as we know, special education director is a very important and huge position. And yeah. I liked how the position overview, that the blue, part that she noted about the early childhood program, all of that, that's really important. And call that out.
Yes.
Is there anything that you thought was from your view?
Not really. She did a great job. We
Yeah.
tend to work well together with job description,
Yeah.
as you know, with the para job descriptions we worked on together. So
Yeah.
it was more so just making sure she had the time in the before we got to this point to really think about what the role has become since she was hired into it. And I'm just thankful that she, was able to do that so we can actually get someone to, to fill her shoes.
Do you know if anyone else had a chance to look at this? Like when she was providing her input, did she work with anyone else who works with her? I was just curious if like anyone else also gave input from their lens,
I did not ask her who she spoke with.
Okay.
I just asked her to like put her her ideas in here. I know that I gave it to Tom to review as well before we sent it over to you all. If you would like me to get back to you with that, I could.
I mean, I know the committee will be, a representative group. And
Right.
so I think that's another opportunity for some of those voices to be heard. And I think it's just at some point in the process important to make sure that people who will work with the person in this role have an opportunity to, share their thoughts on what the most important aspects are. So I think it doesn't have to come at this stage, it can come at that stage too.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing that you pointed out, that having those voices does come in the interview process. When you're talking about a job description, it's like the overall foundation of what is needed to do the role.
Yes.
And then that input can come into like, who is that? What does that person look like to fill those shoes?
It looks really thorough.
It does. I think to Maria's point, my wondering, and maybe this will happen because I've been on a search committee where you have these conversations. I feel like this job description as it reads is super technical, and I'm just wondering about like Dr. Bober does such a good job of communicating and translating data and bringing data. So I just want to make sure that those skills are captured. I mean, I think they're implied, and so I would just hope the search committee would make sure. Right, it's one thing to come to a meeting, but it's another thing to be able to converse with folks who don't know the special ed world.
Right.
And Dr. Bober does that so well and is so versant. So again,
And so I think you'll be a part of one of the committees coming up soon, so you'll get to see how I navigate those. But just to give the committee a little bit of the background, when I run an interview search committee, I meet at least once or twice via Zoom with the whole committee to go through not only candidate reviews, but also to like wordsmith questions and like have them work together as a team in different breakout groups to then come back together to really understand like what those questions are that the whole group wants to get through, so that everybody's view is there. So we'll have community members, we'll have teachers as team members, we have paras,
so maybe it's there.
parents and
Maybe
students.
it's there where
Yeah.
the questions would be. Yeah, that's fine.
So I don't come to it with these are the questions you will ask. I'll give ideas, and then they'll wordsmith, and we'll come together as a group and determine what those questions will look like for the process.
This seems very picky down where it says terms on the work year. Should probably just say 260 days versus school days.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't matter, but
Just days.
you just don't want to leave something hanging out there that might cause
Might
trouble.
not be school days though. That's a good one. Just days. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, I make a motion that the school committee vote to approve the director of special education job description.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Good
Yeah,
seeing
thank you, Ty.
Great. Report on teaching and learning, Assistant Superintendent Lynch.
Thank you.
Yes.
To advertise this child.
Great, thank you. So this section, for the teaching and learning update, I'm going to share a little bit. The committee requested to have an update on the beginning of the year benchmark data. So I've tried to provide a concise but clear update on beginning of the year benchmarks. So the goals of this section, I think one of the most important, obviously I just explained the first one, but the second one I think is very important, that I just wanted to highlight that we're really enhancing our monitoring of student progress. So with our benchmarking system and our use of the benchmark data meetings, we feel like we're improving keeping a pulse on how students are doing and who needs what. So we have our beginning of the year benchmark, middle of the year, end of year, where comparing that to the previous spring's MCAS data where available. So I think another goal of the presentation is to just provide additional clarity into the ways in which we're trying to improve our monitoring of how students are doing. And as part of this, I'll talk a little bit about what our efforts and areas of focus are for this year. This is just a reminder of what we use for benchmarking in ELA and math. So in grades K through 4, we use the dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills. Really that's phoneme sounds, how letters work together. It's really the building blocks of literacy. In grades 2 through 8, STAR is used for comprehension as well. So that's a little bit about the ELA side. And for math, universal screener for number sense is used K4, and the benchmark is 2 through 8. You know that at the middle school, the STAR benchmark system was added this year. So it's the first year that we're keeping a consistent assessment through 8th grade with STAR. We appreciate the efforts of math teachers, Heather Allen and Tara Simonak as well, and our principals to do the work to build the fluency with that information. We also, STAR can assess students at the high school level. Given that they take different courses, we're still aligning where, how to benchmark those courses, but we feel like with a little more time, we can track that into high school as well. So this is the data from the elementary level this year. So as I've just explained on the left-hand side, basically we're sharing what % of students are meeting or exceeding the expectation on the given benchmark assessment. So just like we talked about K and 1, we're using DIBELS. So in ELA, you see that 54.5% of students are meeting the standard. You know, at the beginning of, this is a typical number you'll see at the beginning of kindergarten, we're seeing students developing their letter sounds, how they work together, when two vowels go walking, that sort of thing. So that would be a typical beginning of the year percentage. Same with math, you see it a little bit lower, but by the end of first grade, you do see those numbers bumping up. So we believe that those are pretty consistent for the beginning of year for where students are at in math and on the DIBELS assessment. For the other grades, where possible, we provided the cohort data for the MCAS assessment last year. So we see that, for example, in 4th grade in ELA, currently 61% of the students are meeting or exceeding expectations at the beginning of the year. That percent was 68 in the previous spring in third grade. And on the STAR assessment in math, currently at 69.3 in fourth grade. And when they were in third grade, it was 67%. So our teachers are looking at the data that's provided by the benchmark and looking for those areas where students could need more support. I'll explain a little bit more about when they would do that on the next slide, but I just wanted to pause here to see if there are any questions about this presentation of the beginning of the year, the fall data.
I have a question. So I like how you have the MCAS information, so those fourth graders, you know, the previous year, they got the 68%. But I'm curious for the other grades, for the dibbles, like, let's say second grade, there's 60% for the STAR.
Correct.
But like, how did they do last year? You know, because it's always interesting. Like, we can look at each grade how they're doing right now, but how did those kids do the previous year?
Yes, thank you for that question. That's an important distinction. In second grade, this is really the first time students have taken an online assessment. So the beginning of the year in second grade, so Dibbles is done with an adult, you know, working with physical manipulatives and talking. STAR is not, it's done on a Chromebook. So one thing is it's their first time taking assessment. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation. But even their performance on that is measuring comprehension a little bit, and it's a different, you can have students who are performing at core or core plus that may not do as well on some of the comprehension pieces. So at second grade, our teachers and our literacy specialists are looking at both. I guess that's just a long way of saying those numbers can be, because look at the drop off. Those students haven't receded from first grade to second grade. They're building new skills. So it's really the foundation is being measured with Dibbles, and STAR is it's incorporating some more standards in comprehension. So we look at both measurements. It's just important to remember that they assess different skills.
That said, though, I do think it is helpful to have some historical sense of what fall benchmarks typically are. And so in our data binder, we do have, for grades 2 through 5 at least, it is collapsed. It is an average across those years, 2 through 5, but we do have those historical numbers in here. But I think anytime we see a single data point, it's kind of hard to situate it sometimes.
Sure.
It is helpful to have at least some like historical sense. And so just like the headline there, I knew, again, these are compiled, like they're averaged over, you know, the years 2 through 5. So it's not going to be as specific as what's up there, but it looks like these are slightly higher fall averages than we've seen in the past, at least in math, which is good. I don't know how that would break out according to grade level, so that's like they tested later. But I think they did test later. Yeah, there's a number of factors, but I just think looking at like I said, anytime we see a single data point, it's just helpful to situate it in some other pattern if we can, and we can. That's the good news. It's great. That's why we're doing STAR, because we're about to have a lot of data. You know, every time we give it, we're going to have that historical pattern. And so I think that cohort tracing is helpful, definitely. But it's also helpful just to see, like, in general, in the fall, are we looking about the same? Are we looking a little better than we typically look in the fall? Our goal is to be inching forward always, right? And so, like, I think that's what we're looking for. So I don't know, maybe next time we look at this, if we can get some sort of sense as to what those are looking like based on past trends, I think that would be helpful. And then my other question was just a couple of years ago, we talked about using a STAR benchmark that was not the national STAR benchmark of proficiency, but was one that was closer to the MCAS. I just wanted to make sure we were still using that because it looks like our numbers are off. Like the MCAS is still a harder test, Is that STAR? Is that accurate? Yeah.
We are still using the one that's aligned with the Massachusetts standards.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of variation between the two, but we believe it's a very good assessment for well aligned to the MCAS and gives our teachers
Yeah.
some pretty good predictive information. But
Yeah. That's the most important
you'll definitely
part.
have you'll have variance. There's a research article from Renaissance about its line up to it.
Yeah.
But yes, that's good to point out that there can be some.
I just wanted to
variability.
make sure we were still using
We
the
are,
same
yes.
standards, because I think, again, the most important part is that it's giving teachers the information that they need, and it's actionable, and it's a fast turnaround, and those are the things we want. That's why we're using STAR, but it is still striking to me the difference sometimes, so I just wanted to make sure that we were still using that higher standard. So it's great that we are.
This next slide just has some pieces on some efforts that are underway in areas of focus K-5. So one thing we've added this year are some cross-district grade level meeting days. So teachers always talk about the value of collaborative time. So for one day, there's 2 days over the course of the entire year that K-5 teachers have an opportunity to come together and collaborate on areas of focus. Those meetings are already underway. I saw some of the grade 5 ELA meeting, and we have reading specialists and Megan Gregory highlighting areas where talking about writing and vocabulary and context, and teachers sharing their strategies that they were doing. So I found that to be very valuable for them, and it is a lot of work for teachers to be out of their classes, and they do, they want to be with their students, and they're also working really hard to both provide for the students and contribute in these meetings. So we appreciate their efforts with that, as well as our curriculum coordinators. Just want to highlight too the bridge cycle. So just the summary of that is that for students that were receiving intervention in the previous year, we start school by continuing to provide those interventions and not doing welcoming routines right away, and then doing some benchmark testing a little while after that, and then doing intervention a little while after that. Whereas we know we have some good data on how they performed the previous spring, so we try to get right to work while also doing the beginning of the year routine. So that was, I think, enhanced this year. We've also provided more time for those important benchmark data meetings. So after the benchmarks are given and the data is assessed and intervention groups planned, that data is shared by the specialists with the classroom teachers, and we have our adjustment counselors and school psychs attending as well. We have the HSA data as part of that conversation too. So I think that speaks to the improvement that we've seen with our MTSS process to really have it be academic, social emotional, and behavioral. So that format has been improved and consistent. Talked about this before with teachers having access to the data right in Open Architects. MCAS data takes a long time to come back. Maria just talked about how after students take the benchmark, the data is there 2 days later for them to look at, and they don't really have to wait for anybody else to process it. So I think that's a step forward. We have a new platform to support students' math skills for math fact fluency. So that's also a highlight. And in line with our curriculum review cycle, we are starting the curriculum review process in elementary for our ELA and science. Both of those committees were started by our curriculum coordinators. We have teacher volunteers from the elementary level as well as principal volunteers. So we really appreciate the teachers, principals stepping up to do that. And both of those groups have gotten underway. So these are just some areas of focus. And then after the second benchmark, our plan would be which would be in February, for our coordinators to come and share some of that data with you as well.
I was just wondering when you guys think about the fall data, is there any talk about, or maybe you're familiar with research on kind of the effect of summer slide and summer work, how that factors in? I know some parents hate summer work, some parents wish we had more summer work. We kind of compare our town to other towns that have more robust summer work. And I was just curious if what the research says on that, or if that's been a topic of conversation at all. When we look at the fall in particular, we're thinking about, are kids losing skills over the summer? I'm looking at like Math Fact Lab. That's a thing that kids could really study over the summer. There's
a lot of research on
I mean, I know
that.
summer slide is a big deal. But like,
longitudinal
Yeah.
work on tutoring, mentoring, support, and how it either maintains or bumps the kids by the time they get to the fall. It's a real, and it's exacerbated, of course, in our students that need even more support. Or
like what's that Math Fact Lab? I wonder if that's the type of thing that could be available over the summer. I just think if we're going to spend all this time making sure kids are knowing that,
Right.
for them to then lose it or get rusty for 2 months, only to have us then have to ramp them back up in the fall. Like anytime you look at the data on these start, you see the dip in the fall, and it comes back up, and you see the dip, and we know teachers are working so
Right.
hard, and anything we can do to make that curve a little less drastic, it just, to me, I think about that. I'm just curious if you guys are talking about that at all.
But with solid data, that's a great area that, I mean, I would love to see almost even like a proposal of something creative on that, because with solid data, that's a really valid point of where a good investment, because if then we're just investing 9 months of catch up versus like 6 weeks of good, like not having to catch up and then instead we're making progress. And
It's a different kind of
and it's
bridge.
also an equity issue for me.
It's a
And also,
It's a different kind of bridge.
it's a different kind of bridge, yeah. And then we're also getting into equity and access and things with summer.
I think parents could be motivated too
Some
by
issues.
seeing some of that data, maybe to say
Yeah.
like, this is really important,
lot of
and here's
value.
why, and doing this Math Fact Lab or whatever it is,
Yeah.
is going to be really what helps your kid to not have that dip.
There
I
needs to be
agree.
grants.
I agree with Nicole. We have so many creative professionals in our district that, I feel like having a semi-structured thing available in the summer, I think you'd have interest, and I don't know. I think it's something to think about, especially if the return in student learning is, visible.
Well, at some point we had those academies.
Right.
We had
Yeah.
grants from
Julie, yeah.
Desi. I don't think Desi does those anymore, but either it could be the type of thing that could be done in-house, or I'm just even thinking about basic summer work.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like a little more robust on that, bringing that back a little bit more.
I think anything we can do to
Robust
support
structure.
families in it
Yes.
too is,
It's a little- yeah.
is there a way to use, anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, so.
I had a
Student
question too.
tutor could be an opportunity for
Yeah,
students,
right.
older students.
I would love that.
With the cross-district grade level meetings, were there any sort of themes or consistent sort of messages, or like what were the sort of anything that sort of rose out of those, or any things you noticed?
It's a little early to tell right now because
Yeah.
we've only run just off the top of my head, 2 grade levels in ELA. We have a math one coming up. So they're spread over the course of the year to minimize how much you're out. They're plotted for the whole year, but that'll be a great question for
Okay, I thought it might be a little
late
early,
winter,
but it's
yeah.
not required. Okay.
one thing I would highlight is just that the work that goes into running those. So one of the things that our coordinators just want to make sure that they're valuable. Time for the teachers is valuable, so they start by going into each of the classrooms of the teachers who will be participating in the day, so they have a real sense of what are some really good things happening. How do things look across the grade level? So they're probably collecting pretty good data on that. So I think we should need a little more time.
So one thing I would just like to add, and it's different but related, and I will say, like, clearly there's a lot of really good things going on, so I want to focus on the positive. I think the one thing that we need to keep working on and pair is communication. I don't know what's happening at the middle school or high school because I don't hear from many families, but I do hear from families in elementary school. And some elementary schools are still sending home those sealed envelopes that have a couple of sentences about the child's benchmarks and what that means. And even when you look at Aspen, there's not, right? Like there's not a lot there. Some of them have the interpretation. And I was contacted by a family and they were in a panic because the child was needing a support that they didn't realize they needed, and so they immediately everything worked out. But it's just like, how can we? And I know we have parent conferences or parent guardian conferences. How can we sort of think about delivering so that students, parents, and guardians feel equipped? They feel like they know what the next step is. You know, I get that the teachers are super busy. I know that's another thing, but just thinking about like what if we're gonna make the effort to send home those envelopes, then let's like think about what the envelope says and how it's gonna be received by the person who's like, I mean, this mom was like, I was coming home from work, I had seen the benchmark, I was really happy about my child, and then I get this and I'm in a panic. It turned out not to be anything, but like, you know, just the sort of 24 hours that the parent had to sit with what's going on. So just making sure we're mindful of what those things say, that's all. Or maybe not sending them and just emailing quick phone call or something, right?
There's a commentary.
Sorry, just going back to the like summer slide and stuff, I think from my perspective, I was always interested in working with children, especially as a tutor. And I know a bunch of other kids are too. And I think the summertime can sometimes be tough, but if we were able to like start a program through the high school or like even a club that like high school students could get involved in, and whether it's like just for volunteer hours or like if there could be some sort of payment, but I think a major incentive is like a resume builder, especially a lot of kids that are very academically driven. I think it could be beneficial for them to be given the opportunity to work with children and like have like what such an important thing and like time dedicated that colleges will look at and like see as a really good thing. So I think if we could put that forward with the high school, whether that's something that they could get hours for or not, I think that would be something that children are interested in or high school students are interested in. And I think elementary school and middle school students might also be interested in because like my experience of working with children like as a tutor or through like volleyball and I coach gymnastics, they love like working with high school students. And I think like seeing them out in public, it's like exciting for them to like work with older children and like be able to like understand their life more intricately. So I think that could be a minor solution. If that's
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of clubs that are like already sort of formed for tutoring. So, you know, whether it's like starting something new or reaching out to, you know, existing clubs, we can definitely do that if that's something interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Put that on our list of things to explore.
Yeah.
See, I love that. I mean,
Could you guys give some perspective on what you thought of summer work, like math summer work? I think last year we didn't have any the first time, I believe, but like how did
they probably
students
did.
how did
They had AP college board work.
how did like a summer work, like how did you guys treat
They had college
summer math work, like freshman sophomore year, I guess?
Yeah, I thought it was a good intro to what we were doing. Like I know I'm in Calc BC this year, so there was a lot of prep before that, which it was a little stressful, but I thought it was great. Sort of as a refresher, you know, so there's not that slump like you were saying, we can hit the ground running. And I know like as a kid, I really like hated summer work, but now looking back, I really see the value in it. You know, even if I was like putting it off till the end, like sort of reteaching myself that over the summer, it sort of made the beginning of the school year a lot less stressful going into it. So I hated it, but now I see the value in it. There's a lot of value in it.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as Luke. I did start out in Calc BC. Things have changed since then, but I definitely saw the value in that summer homework, particularly because the 2 days I was there, we did start out like taking off from the summer work, and it was a good refresh. And well, now I'm at AB, but so like the only difference is that we started without the summer homework. But I thought like dropping was honestly very helpful, and it gave me time to focus on my other classes. But going back to summer homework, I got off the tangent. But I thought as a student it was kind of redundant and I didn't love it. But I've always loved math, so I thought the packets, especially when it was fun, or like in elementary school when there was like ways to like maybe there was a coloring sheet with it, like this answer you like get like this color or something. It's just like a silly example, but I thought if there was ways to make it fun, it gave an incentive to do it. And I think if we were to work with high school students, it would like make more like elementary students work like worth it. So
It's great.
Thank you. Two good ideas. The last two slides are just the same sort of the fall benchmark data, and because we're talking about grades 6 through 8, you can see the side-by-side comparison of ELA and math. So it looks like we're either aligned with how students performed for ELA in all three of the grades for 6, 7, and 8. For 6th grade math, we're seeing on the STAR Math some pretty good progress of where we're headed versus the same cohort's performance in the spring. So in math, it seems like there's some good growth and heading in the right direction in grades 6, 7, and 8. Obviously, with more time and more work, we'll see after the middle of the year benchmark as well. But this is data that the teachers use as well to see where are the standards that need more focus. So this, again, just a reminder that this is the first time that our math teachers have used in 6, 7, and 8 have been using STAR. So they've been working hard to become more familiar with the assessment, see how it lines up with their new program that's only in its 2nd year. So I just want to give them a shout out for their for their efforts to build this up here in the early stages, and just point that out. And Tara Simonak's work to also implement that and line up the standards from STAR with the framework has taken some work, so we appreciate that. Here's a little with the efforts and areas of focus. I just explained how this is a new benchmark for ELA and math. We were using the Achieve and ELA, and for the same reason with math, we want more consistency, so we put STAR in place. We're in the curriculum review cycle in the phase where really the pilot phase. So one of the things that Laura Messner has done 6 through 12 is partnered with Hill for Literacy and really think about what are the needs identified for ELA 6 through 12. We did the literacy review last year, and one of the things teachers talked about was really needing some more depth in the best practices in adolescent literacy. So on our November 10th PD day, they had two sessions with Hill. So they've been excited about that work as they think about enhancing our curriculum 6 through 12. Another area of focus is being really data thoughtful with WinBlock. So after the initial boot camp at Gates, where the new WinBlock was put in place, students have been assigned to interventions based on data and where they need support. So that's a step forward this year, just using student performance data to figure out which kids need extension, which kids need intervention. So that's been exciting for all the staff to be flexible there and keeping the momentum going. And at the high school, on Wednesdays, they're working in their MTSS groups to review student data in Open Architects and thinking about which students need a little bit more support from the case team, and then which other students seem to be improving or could use more extension. And we're keeping our focus going on math with our partnership with Allison Mello. She's visited the district in September. She has walkthroughs coming up next week with Tara Simonak, so getting in classrooms in the middle school and high school. And then Allison will be presenting to secondary math teachers and working with them on our March PD day. So we're grateful for that partnership and the investment in making sure our instructional strategies are matching our new program. So that's a little bit of a quick update on efforts and areas of focus 6 through 12.
I was just one thing, sorry, I'm just trying not to ask for the moon, and I might be, but I just know that when we looked at our MCAS data across the district, writing was an area of concern, and it's not assessed on STAR. And so I was just curious if you've had any thought. I just don't want it to get forgotten because it's not assessed.
And there's not a win bonus either.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, and I know I'm asking a lot because we're doing a lot and a lot of this is new, but I just don't want it to be forgotten and us to be surprised another year when we're like, oh wow, because if we're not putting the attention towards it, that's going to happen. So
Sure.
just thinking like, are there ways to bring that in somehow, or any thoughts, or any plans to?
I think it's a really good question. I remember our principals.
Yeah, they talked
I think,
about it.
they know that it's an area
Yeah.
of focus. At the cross district grade level meetings, I saw some really good highlighting of some areas where we can spend more time on the places that we could be stronger. And I know for 6 through 12 that there's some, as the budget process develops, there's Laura Messner's working really hard to find some very good writing professional development, and those are just some quick thoughts I have about it. But I think we continue to remain focused on that and think about ultimately someday having writing benchmarks again. So we're just trying to eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Like I said, I knew it was a big ask, but I just feel like it's important to keep bringing it up because it's like if we don't, another year passes where we kind of haven't really sunk our teeth into it, and so I'm just here to keep bringing it up.
Well, and it is, we have these great win blocks. I'm still surprised that it's not. I'm still surprised it's not a win block. I feel like if we are eating the elephant one bite at a time, we have structures in place where we could have places, right? And we don't assess it, but we know I know the teachers drill down on MCAS data, so you can see. I can see it, so I know the teachers see much more than I do. So we do have some data that's telling us. So I just wonder what that decision is about. I know I think they switched win blocks this week, and now there's an organization win block. And so I'm just trying to, look, my kid needs that, and I'm happy to have that, but he also needs writing, and so I'm torn. Honestly, it's just curious that what was the decision-making process to sort of prioritize that skill over writing? I don't have the answer, but I'm just saying.
I can tell you a little bit as a Gates School Council.
Oh, great.
I think they were placed there were conversations about that, and you're right, certainly there were decisions that had so many kids and moving parts, and they did want them mixed up, especially in middle school, to be with different faces and different, part of the process was to get them all kind of moving in motion to keep them engaged for that 20-minute block, and they are going to keep cycling, so they do get to sort of go through get different skills. So
maybe writing will be one of them.
Right, you might hit things along the way. It will sort of come together when you get that sort of full buffet.
That's fine.
I don't know if all schools do this, but I think it's really great that Gates puts what your kid's win block is in Aspen. So if parents would like to check, if you go to the details tab about your kid, it's right there. I just checked because I was like, oh, a new win block, really? I was not told this by my 13-year-old. Sometimes teenagers are not forthcoming with these details, but it's right in there. So I think that's really nice for parents to be able to check what your kid's win block is. So if anyone's curious, it's in Aspen.
It can be what the particular was that rose most to the top, not necessarily that there weren't other things, but that might have just taken a slight edge.
I just want to make a general comment. Because I think
Always
every
general
time there's a presentation with data that I don't think the average parent or guardian realizes how much work goes on in the background. Like, they might think teachers are just like teaching the subjects, and I'm like exhausted on their behalf for all this work that they do to help the students. It just amazes me that it's a lot of other work. Very important, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's work people care about, and I think it's very complex work too, because we're working with humans, and these aren't excuses, it's just the dynamic situation, and it takes time for kids to develop these skills. And I think one of the most important things that we've done in the past couple of years is to make sure that we're really paying attention to how things are changing over time, and to be positioned we're seeing areas where students need work or where they're doing very well, to try to spread out these practices that are working, and then maybe curb the ones that aren't working as well. And I think that people are invested in that work, and which is really good, thank you. And it takes time, but I think there's a lot of really good energy on teachers' part, and all staff, and our leaders and coordinators too. And so we'll see when we come back in February, we'll share more, and we'll see what the areas of need are and what's panning out. And hopefully we're getting some good traction, but I feel like we're, like was on the second slide, we feel more confident in our tracking, and that we can see when things are working and when we need to change direction. So thank you.
That's a huge step forward, honestly. Thank you. This is like, just, we have this data that's available, that we're able to see it in relatively real time. The fact that soon we will be able to have historical data. We have grades 2 through 5 now, but we'll have 2 through 8 soon. That's going to be really helpful. I just think it's a really big step forward. So thank you.
Open architects too is just a really
Teachers having
Huge
access immediately, being able to feel empowered to be able to use it.
more they
on
get
their own.
familiar and comfortable and confident in that is going to be great. Amazing. Yeah, it's fantastic. Apologies before Irene opens up with the financial report here. I skipped our minutes from November 17th. We could just quickly go through that for approvals. Any comments or, sorry, I did bypass that accidentally. Approvals of those November 17th minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from November 17th, 2025.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Our business and finance report.
Okay. So, this is gonna be quick. Good news is, everything looks exactly like we expected to. So I'll just talk about the report a little bit. If you take a look at the file, the first page is what I call the bird's eye view, so looking down from 1,000 feet, and it just breaks it down into the major functions: admin, instruction, student services, building and grounds. We don't track capital and debt, that's done on the town side, but it could be added if anybody wanted to look at that again, but it's not part of our budget, that we're responsible for on a yearly basis. And then of course the out of district spending for various and sundry things. And I give you the FY26. The amendments or transfers, currently the only thing you're seeing there is either prior year encumbrances, that stuff that we had placed an order for but didn't get before June 30th, so we carried it over into this year, or when they gave us extra money at the special town meeting. As time goes on, for example, in the January meeting, we probably will have some requests to transfer. We'll make, we want to take a little bit out of instruction because we're going to put it into student services. And that's just, I have no idea if we're doing that or not, just giving you an example. So those numbers would then reflect those items we came to you, got your vote on, and then made the adjustment to the budget. So then you've got the amended budget, our current expenses versus that budget, the encumbrances, and I'm assuming everybody knows what an encumbrance is. Nobody, if you don't, I'll be happy to explain it. And then the remaining available balance. So we started out with a $48,930,258 budget. We had, as of November 21st, this is already a couple of weeks dated, actually spent $15,653,731. We've got outstanding orders for $2,682,911, and we still have $30,593,616 to spend. And yes, it will go quickly, but we're not anticipating going over that. We should be well within our budget. If you go to the second page where it says detail, I take each of those functions and break it down into a little bit more detail. So you take the admin and you break it down into school committee, superintendent's office, assistant superintendent's office, other admin, okay, which is your primarily, I do know this, the team leaders, the team chairs, the business and finance office, human resources, legal services, legal settlements, which fortunately we don't have any of, and we want to keep it that way. And then administrative technology, which currently seems to be running a tad over. I'm not concerned about that so long as it doesn't suddenly blow up, but I'll be watching that since it is over. I'm not going to go through this line by line. I would just say if you have any questions, let me know. The one line that you will notice we seem to be over on is utilities, and that's a function of having encumbered the entire budgeted amount. And we're hoping that, again, we'll end the year pretty close to the original budgeted amount. But I'll be watching that. I already have some ideas on going forward for utilities. I don't know if anyone else is a big fan of these, but I love solar panels in parking lots. So that's a project I'm willing to look into and really push to get going, because it helps. So any questions, let me know. And my plan is to present this to you every quarter. So the first meeting in January, I will do this again. And it'll be for the first 2 quarters, the first 6 months of the year. I'll do it again in April. And then I won't wait until June 30th. I will make a presentation in June to let you know, here's where we are and here's how we anticipate, ending the year.
When the new building comes on in 2027, I assume we anticipate.
So I'm sorry, say that again?
When the new building opens in
Yeah.
2017, I assume the heating and utility costs, we'll see those go down.
They should go down because we'll have one less building.
But also more efficiency, right?
Yes, so number one, it'll be one building instead of two, and number two, it'll be built to current standards. Yeah, so we'll have hopefully much more efficient equipment.
Yeah.
So that will also be very nice.
Yes. Thank you. This is helpful. It's like the format, it's easy to read. Yeah.
So again, if you have any questions, and this is why I break this one out. If you have questions on an item, let me know.
Yeah. Questions down there? Any questions, anyone? I always expect a financial question on Peter. No pressure.
Looks good.
Yeah, no action required. This is strictly an FYI.
No, it's helpful to have this just because, as I think Maria said, through AI generated local news reports, we hear of other districts that
Yes.
maybe didn't have regular updates, and I just think it's
Right.
important that we do.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely, and I know you learn this when you go to the MASC meetings, they recommend the quarterly report. If your district is in trouble for some reason, you might want to go monthly, but otherwise quarterly is what they recommend. The level of detail on the page that I gave you is the recommended level of detail. Again, if you've got a district in trouble, and I was in a district in trouble, you literally go line item. That is brutal, but you can do it if you have to. I don't see us getting there anytime soon. That's the good news.
We've been fortunate to have really good, thorough reporting, and Tom has been great
Yeah, and again, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, Tom and I certainly will be looking at this more than every 3 months. This is something that he and I would probably be checking about every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Excellent. All right, so we're going to do some policy subcommittee discussion, BDFA, BEDG. Yes. Yeah. So this was BDFA school councils, and we read through the BEDG, which is minutes of the meeting. It was actually a relatively small chunk, and I read too much today. So, but if anyone would like to kick off with any reflections on those policies.
There's just one place where it talks about the school committee meeting starting at 7.
Seven,
We
yeah.
should probably change
Caught
that.
yeah.
I know we're gonna link out to the policies. I would encourage families to be reading, I would point them particularly to the school council. I thought that was really helpful to sort of hear more in that policy what their charge is, how their charge aligns with school committee goals, which align with district goals. And I think the other piece in there, and I know we've talked about this a lot, is it really is clear about the whole process for elections.
Yes.
Like for the teacher, for the parents, for the teachers, the co-chair. So if folks are interested in that process and helping out, I think it's a good policy to go and review if you have interest in getting on that. So I was happy to read that again.
Definitely. That's one that I think we would like to potentially update as well, but not in this current school year because we don't want to disrupt the work that's ongoing. But we had talked about how the last time we updated it, we moved it from monthly meetings to 4 times a year. And I think we're all discovering that 4 times a year is not enough. It's not enough time for these groups to accomplish their jobs.
Yeah.
We also had adjusted the membership for the kind of like membership terms.
Yeah.
And our thinking behind doing that had been to create some movement on them. But I think unintended consequence there was that it's too much movement. And so I think we would like to maybe entertain some idea of a staggered term so that there is some movement, but people are there as close to some continuity. Otherwise, it's like you're on for a year, you're off for a year, and then we have no one to sort of like
Nobody knows.
carry forward. Yeah, exactly.
Like Sean and Mask had recommended that, and I had heard from
It's
some
more common.
school council members that they had
Yeah,
been
exactly.
thinking along those lines.
Exactly. So I think
feedback wise.
this is something that we would wait until the summer to do so that we don't interrupt current groups, but I think it's on the policy subcommittee. We'll bring it maybe in like June or July. One of the last ones we did this year so that we're ready to go in the fall. Similarly, the school improvement plan one, which is one of the main roles of the school council, this policy is actually pretty prescriptive and something that the school councils could rely on when they're thinking about their role in crafting these. Yes.
There's no vote today, right?
No
It's
vote,
just
just an
discussion.
opening. Yeah. Anything else that anyone wanted to? These ones were fairly light, I thought. I don't know if there's something else. Do not need to belabor the point.
And these will all be the ones that don't have like a date. We'll
Some of
say.
them, yeah, so what we
We'll
would
say,
like to
like,
do is
reviewed-
add the
Reviewed.
reviewed date and 2025, yep. Yes.
Just a little track record of when it was looked at.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
Nice stamp on there.
Yeah. And I know we had, is our next job to go through the rest of the Bs? I believe it is. Do you know, Ryan? Our next chunk.
I just need a minute to look at the agenda for the policy subcommittee meeting. That's,
Here, I have it.
it is.
Yeah, through BK. Right? Yep, so for next time, we're gonna read BEDH through BK,
That's correct.
public participation. Okay? Great, thank you. Okay. Donations. So we have our Shore sent agenda here with an appendix F. Any questions or anything there?
So these amounts have already been expended?
Yeah.
These are approvals that
They've already They've already gone through their organization. We're just accepting their donations. They've already.
Yes, acknowledgement of the receipt of services or goods.
For the policy.
For the
Correct.
for the
Yeah.
policy.
I guess I just thought we would be looking at things before.
Well, in theory you are. Technically, if you disagreed with any of these, you would have the right to say, no, we don't accept this. You know, in this particular case, with the ones you've been presented, I think that's extremely unlikely. But let's say that, for example, somebody came in here and said, hey, the, strip club, over on the highway wants to give you $1,000, you might want to say, we really appreciate that, but we don't think it is appropriate for a public school, educating children, minor children to accept a gift from that particular establishment. And I just throw that out as an example. Or if, let's say it was a reasonable enough group, but they were putting limits on it that you didn't like. Oh, here, we're going to fund 100 books for you. By the way, they all have to be by white European authors. Again, do I envision that happening? No, but I'm just giving you examples of why they want school committees to take a look at what's coming in. Is it really what you want? And is it coming from a group that you feel is not inconsistent with the mission and vision of the Scituate Public Schools?
I guess per the policy, I guess the purpose of having it is so we're aware of where money is going and making sure that it's being spent appropriately.
Yep.
So shouldn't we know ahead of time? I know this is like, these are done, but what is the point of the policy?
I don't think we've
Just
actually
consult people.
received the money yet. I'll have to double check, right. This is what they've approved. We approached them and said, hey, we'd be really happy to get some money towards Ultimate Frisbee. They said, you know what, Ultimate Frisbee sounds great, we'll give you that. But I don't think they have yet, but don't quote me on that, because I haven't been here long enough to know. So at this point, we're asking you, do you allow us to accept, the money from this group for the Ultimate Frisbee?
I guess what they're donating seems like in line what I've always thought the amounts, would be, except for the golf simulator.
Okay.
Where is that going?
Oh, to the golf team.
No, but where are we keeping it?
Oh,
Where is it gonna be? Do we have room for it?
I don't know, and I would have to contact either the golf coach or the athletic director to find out. That's a good question. I don't have a clue.
I don't wanna be like a Debbie Downer. It just seems excessive.
Okay, but it's a good question. Let me ask you. I'll get back
Surprised that
to
they
you.
can play in the winter months.
I get it.
To your earlier question, I think the mentoring funds for the freshman breakfast is an example, that event according to their proposal happened in November, so we are approving something that did already happen.
Right.
Breakfast is in the past, we cannot rescind it at this point.
Right, that's what I mean.
So
That's what
I understand what
yeah.
you're asking about, and I think in an ideal world, we would be seeing these before they hit our route.
Right.
I think we're just still a little bit playing catch up.
Yeah, that is pretty much, our ideal is to come to you before. Okay, we don't want to be asking for forgiveness, we want to ask permission.
Yeah, I think we're still just getting up to speed on the new process.
Yeah, that's probably true.
But
Yeah,
I will get an
I'm
answer
pretty
for you in the
benign,
golf
that's-
simulator.
But that jumped out at me.
As I understand it, our golf team does very well.
It's not just for, if you read
It
the
didn't look like
proposal
it's
though,
for
it's
golf.
not for the golf team,
Yeah.
it's for
It's-
people in gym classes and
class.
things who wanna be
Right.
exposed to golf.
Oh, so it's not just
So
for
it's
the
not
team?
just for
right,
the team.
okay, it's for everybody. It's
So
for
where is it
everybody.
gonna go is a good question.
Well, because I was reading this, And I asked my husband, I'm like, how big is a golf simulator? And it was like, well,
It's
something,
big.
he
It's
indicated it was
oftentimes-
kind of big, and I'm like, well, how
Big.
is that gonna, like,
Put it in the gym.
I don't think it's, I don't know
Yeah.
enough about it
If
to
it's
know
what I'm
if it's
thinking of, it's
portable
something,
or-
yeah, it would be on wheels, kind of like this.
We're happy to report back on
Yeah,
what it
I'll
looks like and
find
where
out
it
for
is.
sure,
May have already been.
but in my head, I'm picturing
So what?
something like that that gets rolled around, and I don't
I
know.
mean, is it something like, it seems like a very large expense with other factors, I guess.
Right.
But it's coming from, we're not.
I guess, right, no,
It's
I know
coming
we're
from-
not spending.
So that was
but
my, so that's my struggle, because we're not, as school committee members, managers. Like, who am I to say that a golf simulator is the appropriate or not appropriate activity, because that's not my purview. Because I started to think, well, they only funded $5,000 of the music, but that's not my purview is not to decide who gets what money, because they went through a whole application process and
right.
sure
But
decided
this
that.
is like gonna be in the school, I'm just curious.
All I'm
That's
saying,
what-
all I'm saying as a school committee member, I feel like I have to trust at some point that the folks who made this request talk to the other, like the Ryans and
they-
right, and so they can, so I don't feel as strongly about why are they spending $14,000 on.
Yeah, but I will get an answer to you in
Now,
terms
the
of
strip
where
club, I have an
it's
issue
going.
with, that would,
If
that
it's a
example would
legitimate
bother
business
me.
in town, have to shut down.
that would bother me, but
We
like,
have bars that.
but I feel like Shore puts them through a whole process, so. But Ryan's gonna report back to us on the
Yes.
simulator. Great.
I just get.
Maybe we'll
laugh.
even be
It's
invited to
wonderful-
try it out.
Wonderful for the psyche.
I'll let you know what we learn. Irene and I
I
will
mean,
just
no,
sort of
I mean-
figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm the playing simulator.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to
You guys
where
test
this
it
is
out,
gonna
let us
fit,
know.
because we just had to find.
I said I wanna
little
test it out.
products. So where is this, like, if it's something that's manageable, then
I wonder if they're able to break it down and put it up, because that's some simulators you'd be able to do that.
Yeah,
Put a screen up and then take it down.
Yeah.
So. That's true. Be good to know more about that.
And I think the step forward is that previously, the district was accepting gifts sometimes from great organizations like Shore or SEF, and we want to make sure we're able to like quantify and identify those. So here, $23,862, where it's itemized consent agenda, following the policy, so
Yeah.
thanks for
Right,
keeping
because
track of
also
those.
once
Yes.
we accept the golf simulator, we own it.
Right, well,
Right.
that,
If it
right,
comes
that's
out,
it.
right.
So that's what
Right.
happens with that
Becomes ours.
slot,
I think
so
it's-
that,
You know,
Yeah.
Shore's
that
a great
great
program.
yes.
Organization.
Yes,
to
where
help with
the
all of these,
Yes.
to, you know.
And what if the
kind of
simulator breaks?
benefit.
And
Right,
I
that
know
we have to
that one of
maintain
the
it though, that's
things
what happened
that
this slide.
an Ed Foundation,
And
which
move
is what Shore is,
It's true.
likes to do
We
is
own
fund
things.
things that probably wouldn't otherwise get
Yes.
funded.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the whole reason they exist. They recognize that some of the stuff just isn't gonna make it into the regular budget.
Right,
Right,
You know,
but
so
now
it is kind of
Should just Ryan
yes.
report back to us.
maintenance
Yeah.
now.
What it
focus
is and what it
Well,
looks
that's
like.
the
with the
thing.
maintenance,
Yeah.
you know, now we
What
have to
happens
maintain.
with the breaks.
So with the Any consent donation. agenda, we can pull that out.
Yeah, we can vote on everything
And vote on
but that.
everything but that,
Like we do at town meeting.
that's how this
Yes,
works.
I
No, I
did
wanna
just,
not
I
vote
just
on it.
sent, I just sent the email to Scott. So,
Yeah.
I should have an answer for you
If
quickly.
they have like a picture of what they have in mind, or, you know, just curious. Because we will own it.
We will
We'll have to
report
figure
back.
that out.
So on a We'll matter have of to pay for its principle, repair. do we wanna pull out the golf simulator and vote on the rest of it? Just
No,
I'm happy to do it.
no, I don't mind voting on it, I just was like, ooh, what's gonna happen when we get it? Because it, like you said, we will own it, so, you know, has to work out. Sure.
Well, you make a motion.
Okay. I make a
Yeah.
motion that the school committee vote to approve the Shore consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Luke had one of those, right?
Oh,
we
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations on your grant.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
Actually, it's Luke's golf.
Yeah, no.
Business pitch, thank you.
Yeah, no.
Good idea.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, yeah.
Luke is at it. Part of golf.
Wasn't it? Business pitch
we did the business bid. All right.
Brutal.
Florence.
Maybe.
We did that, yep, we did that.
For good night.
Yes, we do. Subcommittee reports. So we just wanted to review and discuss the liaison subcommittees and working groups of our school committee. So Maria and I, sort of out of the mask conference, thank you, looking for that word, deep in the brain. We've gone to separate sessions, thank you, I need some assistance with this one. But had come to similar conclusions on just wanting to do a little bit of housekeeping on ours. We have a lot of really great things going on, but we thought we could do things even better. So we're going to start, we thought, kind of cleaning things up and just prioritizing, maybe fine-tuning things. So we wanted to just bring it to the board sort of before we really dig into the work a little bit more and just see what everybody else thought about a plan like that, really go through our working groups, our advisory groups, other groups that we have. We've got
Just other
different
things
labels.
we do. Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's all these different is it a
Liaisoning.
working group? Is it a task force? Is it a liaison role to another existing committee in town? You know, we do town updates, we do office hours. There's all these like kind of things floating out there that we do, and so we're trying to put it in one document and say, when it's a this, it looks like this. Here's what the expectations are. Define. Yes. This is a subcommittee. This is
Here's
the
how often it
roles.
meets.
This is how it works. The subcommittees are actually more formal than some of the other ones. They're supposed to have a chair, a secretary of minutes, and public postings and all that. Then we have, working groups or task forces that may arise for a particular
Ad
need,
hoc.
and then they may go away. Then we have, those various liaison roles to all the other boards in town, and I think those are also something that we have the opportunity at the outset of each year to decide which groups do we need to have a liaison to, and what will that role look like in that given year. Sometimes, like when we were in the height of the new school project, it might have made sense to have a deeper liaison role with some of those groups, but now that project has moved into a new phase, we might not need that anymore, right? So we kind of have to be a little bit responsive to the time. And so we're trying to get this all in one place,
Yeah.
but we're also trying to do research and make sure that we're doing it right.
Legally, yeah.
And
sort of by the
looking
books.
at how other schools, other districts are doing it, so we're looking to making sure we're doing it right, according to mask and policies and all that stuff, so we're cross-referencing. So it's taking a little time, but we wanted to preview with you all that we started it.
We're also trying to be mindful of everyone's time and the commitment, because when you start really digging in and sort of looking at all of these, there's quite a few. I mean, there's honestly over 20 to 30. If you look at the commitment levels that each of us really is expected to do as a school committee member, in addition to the general responsibilities of, bi-monthly meetings and just everything, being on hiring committees, and just everything totals up to be quite extensive. So we just really wanted to sort of like prioritize things, and then also we're looking to create a document that is something that we can sort of pass on to future school committee members and really give them something to go off of, to learn from as well. So
on that note, one of the things that we need to talk about is office hours. So we had wanted to pilot that, which we did. We did 3 opportunities. We had thought maybe we would try to do them monthly. So we had those 3 scheduled. We do not have any scheduled in the new year yet. And so the question is just, do we want to continue them? And if so, at what frequency? Just to give you a sense, at our first one, we had probably about 10 people. At our second one, we had 2. At our third one, we had 0. We did offer them at different times of day. We were trying to figure out, just trying to see what would be best.
yeah, which was more attractive.
I don't know. Also it obviously depends on our availability. One of the things we learned was it's better to do it at the library, because having it in school is tricky with people who may or may not have a Corey form, and just like the coordination of finding a space in a school and having people to be escorted is just tricky. So the library is the best location. So that's one thing we learned. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity to offer, but on the one hand, if we offer it and no one shows, is it a waste of time? sort of. Nicole and I did get a lot done on our liaison thing the other day.
It's on you as well.
We had an extra
You
hour.
bring
and
other
so-
work that you have to do.
You know.
I'm happy to do office hours.
I
I'm
do
not
like
doing,
that.
I'm not doing the weekly updates,
Yeah.
so I feel like this would be a way that I could
Great.
pretty easily pop over,
I
as
think
long as I
it's
know ahead of
nice.
time. If
Yeah.
you could find
We
a
would
time ahead of
schedule,
time.
usually, I think,
It's like a monthly hour.
Yeah, I don't, I
At work,
really, I
and
don't,
nobody
that's something I
shows,
don't
that's okay.
mind.
Okay.
You just fill
Yeah.
it with other
that's great,
things.
Carrie.
I'm totally happy to do that.
Okay.
Does it make sense to consider doing them through Zoom? People don't.
I would
have
rather
access
meet
to
in person. I spend
Yeah.
so much time on Zoom.
it. I just don't know if we
Same.
can, obviously, I think the first office hours that we offered, there was a particular topic that was
Yeah.
hot at the time, so I think it has,
We could
that ebbs and
alternate,
flows.
Yeah.
we could alternate month to month and see if people come. I just think it's, I do think, now I'm speaking blanket, I do think a lot of people spend time on Zoom, and so sometimes having face-to-face is like different, but I would be happy to alternate. I mean,
No, I'm just thinking to encourage participation when there's not an issue, a hot item, I would think, I'm not sure.
yeah, we could experiment.
It apparently doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was gonna say,
But
this, you know,
I like it.
they started
I
out
like
with
in
that.
person too.
We
I think there's
have-
something really nice about getting to just meet. That's the benefit for us
Yeah.
is we actually get to interact as opposed to not
I would-
really able to interact, which
I
is
would
kind of
agree.
nice.
I would agree.
We could try, I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with doing, you try one, like we could do January in person, February
Yep.
Zoom, and then go back
And
to
see
in
what
person
happens.
and see what happens.
Keep talking about it. I think that's
Totally
helpful.
fine.
Sure, let's
Yeah,
do that.
happy to do that. I just also wanna say, I'm very happy that you're doing this work on the liaison piece.
Yeah.
Because I just think there are so many committees that I don't understand why we're
Yes.
there. Like, I guess I just wanna change the culture, which is if planning or capital planning or somebody needs us,
Exactly.
then they invite us instead of us just automatically being liaised, because I just end up feeling guilty for not going, even though I know when I get there, I have nothing to contribute.
Exactly.
So I'd rather spend my time on office hours or
Yes,
search
yes.
committees
That's part of the
or
prioritization.
bullying
Right,
task
and that
force.
might be the path that we take, is like, maybe we are, ultimately our outreach might be to them, to say just that.
Totally
We're
fine with
here,
that.
if you need us, we're not
Yeah.
ignoring or neglecting our duty, but know that like
It
this
just
is,
doesn't make sense.
we're here, there, and everywhere, and we wanna be a part of the conversation. If you need us, please know, all you need to do is email,
I
call,
think that's a
please
great
come
idea.
get us, we'll be there in a heartbeat.
That feels more
But,
doable
and
as
we
a
can't
member.
be there every other week because
No.
we have 12 other committees, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, but, yeah, just because it feels like a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
but if you
So
need us,
I'm
we're
glad
there.
you're doing it. I think it's.
On another note, so tomorrow night there is a community forum topic of the redistricting. That'll be tomorrow night at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And one of the part of that will be a launch of a website that will have on it a feedback form. And the advice of the folks who are leading that process for us, Proper GIS, is to ask people who have input or feedback or questions about redistricting specifically to use that form instead of emailing us, because when people email us, as you know, we
Right, they
can
wanna
reply
collect.
all. Sometimes it goes just to me and maybe you, but not you guys. So it's just this way, everything will be in one place. And part of their role as this firm will be to go through all the feedback they're getting, organize
Right,
it,
being
collate
centralized
it,
there.
centralize it, exactly.
That's
So
great.
if
And
we
that's 6
do
p.m. you said.
get, that's tomorrow 6 p.m. If we do get emails on that topic,
Push them there.
to try to ask people to put it there instead, because that's just a way to kind of keep it all organized.
Do you think, I don't wanna create more work, but this whole linked agenda is amazing. I'm just wondering, for something like that, could that just be like a running message for the next
the
several months at the bottom?
Yeah.
That way, if I'm talking
Yeah,
to
yeah,
someone, I can say, if you look at the last agenda,
That's a good idea.
then the link is right there, instead of me having to have the link. Just
Like
like
the proper
important,
thing.
Like some
Like
sort of
the
like
feedback?
helpful links or something
Yeah.
at the bottom.
remember, your feedback is, you
Or
can get
even if
feedback.
and on the,
I don't know, I just think it'd be a
Yes,
good
the
thing to
MSBA
use as a
That's a good idea.
landing
Yeah.
page.
tomorrow night it's strictly online, there's no
It is.
physical.
Yeah.
It is
meeting.
being recorded.
Yep, it will be recorded. Yep, it's gonna be a 30-minute-ish presentation and then time for questions and answers. And it will be recorded, and the recording will be posted on the
You know, I'll
special
watch it, I
website.
just wanted to make sure I didn't have to be somewhere.
No, fully remote, and it's just the first one, there's
Yep.
many to come. Any other
I
questions?
was just gonna ask, slightly unrelated, but Parent Square, I know is like, seems to be working pretty well. I just have a question relative to me. I can only get news on the school that my student goes to.
Oh,
But
no,
I
I've
want
seen
to
these
be able to get
You can.
all of the schools.
You can.
You can.
So
I can.
as a school committee member, they set up
As
a
a school committee
special,
member.
they set up a special group for us because when we give you
Careful now.
updates.
That's what I was struggling with.
Yes,
It's
it's
When I
hard.
was in high school.
You will start getting everything and it is a lot,
So
but
you will show me how to do that, okay.
yes, I
All
can.
right.
Ready?
Not just, I'm doing the weekly update, I'm like,
Yeah,
I
it's
get
hard to
students
get
going
a
high
lot of
school stuff,
messages.
that's all that I have access to,
Yes.
but I know there's other stuff going on.
You will get.
You ready?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Great.
Any final,
I think that's it.
anything?
That's
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting.
Oh,
Peter?
motion to adjourn at 7:53.
Second.
Hey, all in favor?
Aye.
Right. Excellent. Have a good night, everyone.